most of them, all my friends, they were smart. In high school, they went into the Navy Reserve. So when they did get called up for active duty, they all served like on the Enterprise in the South China Sea. You know, nobody really did land duty. You know, I did what I wanted to do because that's what I wanted to do. You know, but most of my friends didn't. And because they were reserve, they only did like 2 years. So by the time I got home, they were full-fledged wackos already, you know, which the strangest thing is, like I said, was how the world had changed. I mean, you know.
How was your family at that point? What were they like? Were they still, had they changed?
Well, my family, like, you know, thought that I was the biggest idiot in the world for going. When I came home, they thought I was this hero kind of person. So yeah, they changed too. You know, and there was no heroes in Vietnam. You know. But you know, their perception of that changed. But it was an organized crime family. You know, it wasn't like your normal. You know, nobody was standing there waving the American flag when I came home. You know, I was just like, oh, you're back, huh? You know, we're proud of you. You know, and that's it. You know. So my family was a little different than, you know, most kids that, you know, which actually added to the fray of this whole concept of what we actually came home to. You know, and then it got to the point where, you know, I had this psychedelic Volkswagen I used to drive. I mean, the fenders were painted with the stars and, well, the stripes, and the side of it was the stars, and I mean, it was all painted. And I used to drive this thing around with the long hair and shit, you know, and on the back, I just had this little sticker, Vietnam vet, you know, and so it was like people would look and people would go, what the fuck? You know, and then I had another sticker that said U.S. paratrooper, you know. But it was incredible because you could be driving like from Berkeley to, say, Monterey or whatever, and there'd be girls hitchhiking. And you just picked up these hitchhikers and you just partied with them and got high with them for 2-3 days. And then it was over. And it was just peace and love. It was just, I mean, there was no easier time to get laid in the United States than the 60s. You know, there was no AIDS, there was nobody was worried about any of that shit. You know, it was just peace and love. It was like get high and fuck. You know, it was incredible. It was totally incredible. You know. But Denise used to work at this place called Penny Saver Market, and she was in the union. I mean, she was making like, in those days, she was making like $20 an hour. All right, as a checker. And I used to go meet her, you know, after work, because it was only like 2 blocks away from this. I had a 40-unit apartment building that we used to run. And I'd go meet her. And I remember one day I went and met her, and there was one of the demonstrations going on. And I walked out with her from Penny Saver and right up Channing Way, where Emilo used to live. That was his street. Here they come. The protesters just at war with the Alameda sheriffs. You know, I mean, there's the riots going on. And they're waving the Viet Cong flag and shit. And I went ballistic. I mean, I went into the crowd and I was just fucking hitting people. And she was in a tither, you know. And right on my lawn, they burned a car right on my lawn, you know, of this apartment complex we lived in. They were burning cars, and I was just fucking hanging out, just trying to beat them as much as I could beat them. And they were such like sissies that they wouldn't even hit back, you know? I mean, they had these numbers. What they used to do is, I'll give you an example. They didn't shit in toilet bowls in Berkeley. They shit in these huge brown shopping bags. You know the shopping bags with the 2 handles, the brown ones? That's where they'd shit. So they could save the shit to throw at the cops during the riots. I mean, that's how nuts Berkeley was then. And certain things I could put up with, like the protests, and there was other protests that I had no problem with. But when I seen that Viet Cong flag, and you're waving that VC flag, you're gonna see one crazy motherfucker dive into you. Fuck the sheriffs, man. You're gonna
Break.
see one crazy motherfucker dive into you.
Did you break them?
Oh, I went through them like a fucking knife with butter. A hot knife with butter. I mean, I was fucking wild. I just went fucking ballistic. That's when I got the reputation in Berkeley. And you could ask, Emerald. I mean, they wouldn't even come near my fucking building anymore, the fucking hippies. And at the time, they weren't even hippies. They were all like, affiliated with SDS or, the BLA, the Black Liberation Army, and all these fucking people, man. Don't wave a Viet Cong flag in my face. In our mind, what we fought in Vietnam for was for you to have the right to protest. Don't burn my flag, and don't wave the enemy's flag in my face. Anything else is cool, man. That's what we were supposedly fighting for. Anything else is cool. Don't do those two things. Still till today. I don't think anybody on this planet, in this country, has a right to burn the American flag. I know too many guys died for those colors. That ain't gonna happen in front of me. You burn it, you're fucked if I'm there. That's the way I look at it. And I think all Americans should be that way. We still have kids dying for those colors. And it's not about whether George Bush is right, whether Lyndon Baines Johnson was right. And you want to really blame the Vietnam War on somebody, blame it on Dwight D. Eisenhower. That's where it started. And it went from Republican to Democrat to Republican. It went through all the party lines. It went through all of this shit. Don't burn my flag. Too many of my partners had that flag draped around their coffin. That ain't gonna happen. Not if I'm around.